Okay, so yeah, it's automated release notes, short from ARN. This is our app, which is hosted on Atlassian Marketplace. It's about how you so it's about how you release your version release notes using Atlassian Jira platform, right? So, okay, so let me just briefly tell you about how it started. Okay, so we were developing other apps on Atlassian, like how I said, Appraise, right? So we used to release the notes for that Appraise app, and then we realized that all the information regarding the issues and whatever the stories we are implementing for Appraise app were in Jira, and there was no tool to extract it easily from Jira and just release it as a release notes for our Appraise app. Okay, so we thought we tried, and there was a native support in Jira server version where you can modify certain template, one template, and then add your own JQL and then get the results. But it was very crude. I mean, not you cannot format it properly and all that, and requires dev knowledge of how to format the templates and all that, velocity templates, right? And on cloud there was no support at all, so you cannot configure the template at all. So we thought, why not implement our own app for this purpose? Uh, so we started with that. It was initially very uh, as a proof of concept. We just had release notes in the email format, and once it started getting response from customers, then we added different channels in that ARN. So yeah, so release notes are, so there are various stakeholders for release notes, right? So there could be internal team who wanted to know, who like management team, right? So who want to know about what is going to be released in next version or next few versions, so that they can plan accordingly. There is marketing team, there's sales teams, right? So they can promise the features to their customers based on these stories we implement in development, right? So, so they, and then ultimately the customers, the end users who are going to consume this, who are going to use the product, and they will certainly want to know what is released on regular basis, right? So, so there are various stakeholders in the release notes. And earlier we noticed that one of our product manager used to in a previous company. So he used to collect all the information from different teams and gather it, and then build it in certain format every with every release. And it also takes used to take time for him to collaborate with everyone. Okay, so that was another reason which so this automation of release notes using Jira stories and Jira platform, right? So that saves a lot of time and pain for the technical writers or product manager, whoever is writing the release notes, right, for the end users. Then there are different formats are needed. Like someone needs release notes in email. Few customers might prefer it in certain single page where you can see different release different versions release notes in a single page. Then there could be you may want to store it as a PDF in your repository somewhere, right? So there are different channels, and there are different formats you need. release notes. So ARN supports those different channels as well as different formats for generating the release notes. Okay. And recipients could be different, like I said, internal stakeholders, end users. So yeah. Then there is Atlassian has Confluence, right? So we also have a channel using which you can publish a page or edit an existing page on Confluence with the latest release notes. So yeah, so as I said, there are different stakeholders, individual contributors, managers, executives, customer facing. So we need a different format for each of these individuals. Like in individual contributors and managers, executives. These may be internal, and they might need to see release notes from the point of view, maybe like marketing or sales or for planning purpose, right? So and customer facing are obviously the whatever we are releasing in the end product. So we can select what you want to see in the release notes for these different stakeholders. So that's the purpose. So I will, okay, so this slide shows some of the use cases. I will just read it out. Inform internal players when the next release is due based on schedule triggers. Okay, so we have, in ARN, we have different triggers. So I will show it in demo, but these triggers are like, you can trigger release notes manually, or you can trigger it in scheduled format. So you can schedule to run certain rule at specific day or specific time. Then you can trigger it when the release is uh, done, version release is done. So Jira has version releases, right? So you can, when you release it, it generates an event, and ARN will trap that event and trigger the rules. You can also configure rules to run before certain days of release. For example, you have scheduled release of version on certain day, say on 11th of October. Then you can schedule a rule which will run on 10th of October or 9th of October, like that. So yeah, these are different triggers you can schedule to inform the internal players or the end users, right? Then yeah, second use case is generating release notes on demand. Yeah, okay. So we have so in we have templates which for each use case, and then you can configure rules to generate release notes using that template, filling the stories and issues or stars you have included in that release in that template, right? So yeah, so that you can trigger on demand or in scheduled format, right? uh, Okay, so there are then integrations. So certainly these days you need integrations with different apps, right? So we have a webhook configured so that you can basically trigger the rule in ARN using that webhook from your CI tool, any CI tool, right? So that's one thing, one use case. Then okay, so Jira has multiple projects, right? So sometimes you need so from different projects you need to collect the stories and generate release notes, a single release note. So you might have divided your project into different sub projects, right? So maybe front end and back end. So you are maintaining separate project, or maybe platform specific, like iOS is different and Android is different. So, but the features for both the apps are same. right? So you want to combine those two projects stories into a single release note. So that is one use case. Then yeah, send release notes directly to your web applications via widgets. Okay, so one of the feature ARN provides is a widget. So there is a small JavaScript code. You can embed it in your web application, and it will start showing up a widget on your web page. And then the release notes can be pushed to these widgets. Right. Okay. Then there is a next use case is a PDF format. Yeah. So as I said, some of the users preferred to store the release notes in the PDF format in their repository or Dropbox account for historical purpose. So that was the reason PDF format was introduced. Okay. The next one is keep customers engaged via a featured update. Yeah, so that's the primary use case, right? Automatically trigger rules when a version is released. Yeah, so version release and before a version, a number of days before a version release that you can configure to schedule in the rules. Then there is a Confluence as a so we can release notes to Confluence page, or you can update a single Confluence page with the latest release notes at the top, and it will push the old one to the bottom. Uh, Post release notes in HTML and JSON format to predefined URLs. Okay, so uh, some customers prefer to get the just HTML out of ARN and in JSON format, and then use it to integrate with their web app or other apps, right? So we have that format as well. We also have Markdown format, which can be generated using release notes. Okay, then send release notes directly to a channel in Slack or MS Teams. Okay, so this is a very so Slack and MS Teams. So for this integration, you need to have a channel in Slack, and for each channel, you get a email address. Okay, so you can post to that email address your release notes, and it will show up in Slack as well. Okay. Then there is generate other reports exploiting the flexibility of the app. Okay, so since this ARN is based on JQL, okay, so release notes are generated using JQL, whichever you configure in the template. So it has endless possibilities of generating reports. Like you can use it for internal reporting purpose. So, for example, we have configured a daily report of what are the customer support tickets generated last day, how many were answered or how many were pending, right? So that's one use case we have. Then we have weekly reports of issues and tasks in the statuses, right? In certain project. So yes, since it is based on JQL, it has inbuilt reporting use case. Right? Okay, I hope if anyone has questions, or I can continue.
Parag, I would like to request, is there a demo that you can show to us?
Yes, yes. I will. The next
Sure.
one was demo actually. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So my screen is visible, right?
it's visible.
Okay. Okay. So this is our production Jira instance where we maintain our project's internal uh, project, our internal projects. So this is our app, automated release notes. So it has two versions. If you notice, free and then there is a paid one. So in free app, we have a limitation on executions, number of executions you do in certain month in a month. Okay, and we have paid app, which is doesn't have that limitation, right? So you get this menu item in the project context. So you will get this in menu item. For each project you will get, and then for common to all projects, there is at the top you will find out that here. Okay. Okay, so I will just explain different tabs here. Okay, so calendar tab is simple. Actually, this is read only. It just shows the information about the releases inside the project, in which project you are here, right? It just shows the ver- version informations, right? If you have a due date for the version, it will be shown up here. Okay, so it is just a read on the calendar. Okay, then okay, these are rules. Before that, I will just explain what are the templates. Okay, so these templates are basically where you configure how your release notes will be generated. Okay, so there are different formats supported. So Okay, so template type is basically the format of template you will get. So first one is email. Obviously, so these are HTML emails you can generate using this form, this template. Then there is PDF. So then Confluence. So for Confluence, additionally, so I will come back. Additional features, certain additional features are there. JSON, HTML, Markdown, and JST announcement. So email and PDF are almost so feature is almost similar. So you have basically this is a Visivik editor. Okay, so using this editor you can configure your release notes, and here you can add your image, your logo, your project name, and so whatever header you want in the release note. Okay, then you can add your content here. Then there are different variables. Template support, like since this is single template will be used for multiple releases, right? So you need variables that will be replaced with each release variable values. So we support these variables like username, user email, project name, project ID. So username, user email is whoever is releasing these notes. Then project, for which project it's going to release. Then version name is there, release date, then when it is releasing. So these are different variables we support here. Then okay, you can use those variables here as well as so this JQL section is there. Okay, so this JQL section is where you configure the JQLs which would be used for so so this section, right? This stories, new feature, improvements, tasks. So these will be replaced with the results you get from JQL we configure in this pop-up. So this is JQL for this particular JQL section. So whatever the stories or will be written by using this JQL will be replaced in this section. Okay. So for that, you can configure the title, Then description, you can style it as you want. Then you can use variables as well here. Okay. Then description, so title and description will be shown below. Then this is JQL, which will be used, and in this JQL, there is slight difference. If you notice here, the syntax is different, right? So this is a variable we replace based on for which project this release note will be generated. Okay, if it is across project, then you don't use this condition. You will use maybe in query, or just use the fixed version, or use certain other JQL which will fetch all the issues across the project. Right? So based on this JQL only, it will be retrieving the stories or issues in the end release notes. Then the message, okay, so you can either hide the complete section if there are no stories written by this JQL, or you can show the message, pre-configured message when there is no result set written. Right? Okay, now JQL returns certain result set, right, issues, but what you want to show in the end, so there are different layouts. Okay, so one is table layout, other is sequential. So in table layout, you whatever the fields you have selected from issue will be shown in tabular format, and in this order, like priority will be first column, key will be second, like that. And you can also configure this for that styling. You can configure how it will be displayed. Then like summary, display as text, or display as say the value style as well as the header style. So entry style is the value, like issues value, what how it will be shown. That's how. The second layout is sequential, where again you can there is a flexibility, like for each row written by JQL, this format will be used. This format will be repeated. So you can, it's analogous to a row in a table, right? And you can use these variables. These are the variables which are field names you can use here. So priority, for example, we have selected priority field here from the issue. Then to use it here, we have this priority and priority label. So priority label is what in Jira, whatever we see against the priority label, that will be the label, and priority value for that particular issue will be this upper one, priority. Just so that's how you configure a JQL section. Okay, and once it is configured, when you run a rule, or say the preview, it will replace this JQL section with the actual results. Okay. Then there is a stats. So these stats are actually, again, it's an aggregation. So if you want to show number of stories released in this version, then it shows, you can use this stats macro, and it will just get the aggregated result for that JQ. Okay. So that is small one. So I will just show you the preview for this particular template. Okay. So you select the preview, then okay, okay, just this is. I will just use existing one. Okay, so here, since I have generated, my name is replaced here, then the version is replaced here. So we use these variables in the template, and those variables got replaced with actual values. Okay, so this is what I was mentioning about the stories JQ section was replaced with this and this table, right? So, and table is in, the fields are in that order of what we selected in JQ section, and each the JQL result set, so that each row will be replaced, each row will be added in this table for each issue. So this is a simple email template. Then we have other template types. I will just show you what are the differences. PDF and email are PDF, email, and HTML are almost similar. The addition one is here. Sorry. So for Confluence, we have additionally macros. Confluence is ultimately HTML only, right? So when you post HTML to a Confluence page, it will add to the page that same HTML. But additionally, you can also configure the macros. So we don't support all the macros, but we support which are mostly used or useful in the release notes. So these are the macros we support here, which can be used in the Confluence page uh, generated by this release note. So interesting ones are like page properties, then table of content. So you can have a single page and post release notes version wise in that page only, and you get a table of contents as well automatically. So yes, so that's the difference. Otherwise, variables, JQ section, stats, everything you can use in this template as well. Then we have JSON template. So here this it's a JSON format again. Okay, so in JSON format you configure the variables basically. So for example here, so here project name will be replaced with actual project name value. So that's how, and then this JQL section is there, right? So once you generate the node, it will replace this section with results, actual results. So the concept is similar. Only thing is the end result will be in JSON format. And similarly, there is a Markdown format. Markdown is again, it's a HTML only, but its a format is different, right? So we configure JQ sections similar way. Only thing is JSON and Markdown has a not a it's not a visual representation in template, but ultimately when you generate the nodes, it will be generated in Markdown format. Then there was one JSD announcement. So Jira Service Desk has an announcement feature for the portal, right? So we can also post announcement using release notes on that portal. Uh, so that's a small one actually. So not man, it's just a fixed message or variables you can use here. We don't have a big because it's just an announcement and section is small on JSD portal, right? Okay, so these are the templates. If anyone has any questions on templates, you can ask, or we can move to rules section.
Team, you can post the questions in the chat window, or you can unmute yourself and you can speak. I say that only Ashish has enabled the audio video option. But Ajit,
Okay.
Saujanya, and Tarna, if you can enable and you can ask the question, if not, we shall proceed. Ashish, do you have any query? You're not audible clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yes, sir.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I just want to ask if a template that we have created can be recycled.
Sorry, Ashish, I couldn't
Yeah,
get your last part. Yeah.
Ashish, your voice is very low.
I'll just type out. I'll just type out my request.
Okay,
Okay.
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 On DMs, go back. No. On the same page chat window. No,
Mhm.
back DMs. Please click on DMs. Next to menu. Yeah. General.
Okay. Okay.
Correct.
Sorry.
Ashish is going to type in that.
Yeah. Sure.
Basically, he's asking for some kind of template that you have used. And after that,
Yes. The last part I couldn't hear clearly.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we use that template in multi projects? Can you scroll down the chat window? There's a message from Ashish. Yeah.
Okay, yes, we can use templates in multi projects. So, for example, when you create a template, uh, okay, so I forgot to mention here. So, this is the label you have. So, either local or global. So, local is available in this project only, and global is this template will be available in across all the projects. So yeah, so we support that. So same template can be used in multiple projects. Only thing is, if you configure a global template in certain project, you can edit it only in that project. So in other project, if you open, you will be seeing it only in read-only mode. So only the person who has edited in certain project that will be he will be able to edit in that project. I hope I answered that question correctly. Okay. Yeah, just
The chat window to communicate.
yes, yes. Yes, global templates changes will be applicable to all projects. That's correct. No, no. So see, the template is same, and once you apply the changes, it will be applicable to local as well as global. So that template is same. Only thing is you can edit this template only where you have created the template. That's okay. Okay. Fine. So let's move ahead with the rules section. Uh, so here, earlier we have configured the templates. Now, how to use them to send or generate the release notes? That's where the rules comes into picture, right? So you can create rules which have certain triggers. Okay. For example, yeah. So this is the create rule page where you can say the name of the rule. Then, okay. So here, run rule as so. Uh, so in Jira, right? So whatever so the user, each user gets different permissions, correct? So for example, there are two users. Two project managers, right? So they both have different permissions in their own projects, and one project manager may not have with permissions on other project. correct? So in ARN, you can configure how the JQL, by which user JQL will be run. Okay, so if it is run by creator of the rule, then so if you configure here as a, there are two options actually. I think globally we have disabled another option, which is running it as an app user. Okay, so app user gets all the access to all projects. But if you want to restrict it to the creator of the rule, so that you can configure it here. So the JQs, whichever are configured in the templates, that will be run with the creator of the rule. Okay. Then this trigger. So there are different types of triggers. Manual, of course, you can just trigger them manually. If you select this type of trigger, then version created. Uh, so whenever the version is created in your Jira project, this trigger will be triggered. Okay. Uh, then so you can conditionally add version name filter. So you can use a, regular expression to specify that only version starting with say test will apply this trigger, right? So that way. Then there is a version release. So again, so whenever the Jira version is released, this trigger will be called, and it will trigger this rule basically. Again, you can configure the regular expression to filter out the versions. Then schedule before n days of release. Okay, so your version is scheduled to run, scheduled to release on say 12th November, and you can say that before, so say 2 days before generate this, trigger this release note, trigger this rule, right? So it will, if you schedule like this, then it will trigger this rule, say on 10th of November. Okay, and you can configure the time you want to trigger it on. Then there is a scheduled one. So like we internally use daily and weekly scheduled reports to generate, right? So that you can use here. You can use cron expression. Then there is a webhook. Webhook is like you just get a unique URL for your rule, which you can use in your other application to call the rule, to trigger the rule. Okay, so these are different types of triggers. Okay, and then there are different types of actions. So let me select existing rule. Okay, so this is a webhook type, but I will just show the actions. Okay, so here, so each action, so when the rule is triggered, it will run all the actions individually. Okay, and then in that order, whatever you configure. So here the email action requires you to select email template. Okay, and then you can add attachments, PDF, Markdown, JSON, or HTML. And again, for each PDF, you need to select the HTML. You need to select the PDF template you want to use for the attachment, right? Since not necessarily this email template, you want to have similar format in PDF. So PDF can have different format, and email can have different format. So that way, so this, when you select the attachments, they will be sent as attachment to the email sent by this rule action. Then you can configure reply to, these are the email variables, right? So, and okay, and this for the cloud version, we support configuring the SMTP server. So you can use your own SMTP server if you are using one, or you can use ARN's default email server to send the emails. Then you can say email from, so that your customer know that this is, so this is important when you are using our default sender, because end users will see this auto release notes at the amoeboids.com email address, right? So for them, you can say this email is from your name, you can add. Then to whom you want to send this email. So you can configure Jira users, or you can select users based on project roles. You can select users based on Jira groups, or issue users, like you can select assignee, reporter, watchers, creator, or custom field if you have user type of custom field. Right? And then, of course, these email addresses, these are external email addresses. You can directly type to whom you want to send this email. Then there is the option of sending an email as a BCC. Right? So these are general email attributes you will notice here. Right? Okay, so then there is a Confluence action. Okay, so Confluence. So for each type of action, there is a different template, right? So you select is here Confluence template. Then okay, so what we have noticed that customers have multiple Confluence instances. Okay, so even if they have a single Jira instance, they might have multiple Confluence instances. So we received many requests to support multiple Confluence instances. So we have that feature wherein you can configure your Confluence instances that can be used to release notes. So you can select that which Confluence instance you want to use here. Then what is the space key on this Confluence, and then type of page, whether it's page or blog. So these are Confluence specific inputs we are taking in this action. So you want to create a page, or create new page, or you want to update exist one, append to existing one, or prepend to existing one. So these are different options you get here. Then you have parent page ID. So if you want to create hierarchy, then you can have a parent page, and then inside that it will be posted. You can apply labels to Confluence page from here. That will be configured. So yeah, so that's what we configured. For JST announcement, it's simple. You just want to get the JST template and what is the portal ID. Right? So it will post to that portal only. Then post action. Okay, so post action is for integration purpose. So we have simple post action here where you configure the endpoint. So HTML template you can post, or you can post JSON, and you select a template for that, and the endpoint. So endpoint is where the ARN will call this endpoint, and uh, as a request parameter value, we will post the HTML or the JSON which is generated by the selected template. Okay, and this is if your this endpoint needs authentication, then basic authentication we have supported here. Yeah, so this is very basic integration is done. So at this point, yeah. Then there is a widget action. So widget is basically, so I will briefly explain you what is the release pages and widgets. But widget is a small piece of code you can JavaScript code which you can embed inside your web application, and it will start showing the. So for example, here, so this is the widget we have used from same application. Okay, so for our apps release notes, we are using our apps widget. So it's yeah, chicken and egg kind of like, right? So It's our app using our own widget. That's then release page action. So we support release page. You can have a configure dedicated pages in the ARN, and you can have your own custom URL. At present, it's a sub URL of our release page. So it will show you here. Uh, okay, so this is release page and widget configuration. So widgets is, I will just first go through widget. So you can configure the appearance of the widget here. So name, so these are internal purpose use, but this details section here you can configure what will be the launcher label, how the button size will be there, right? The header background color, launcher button text. So okay, so this is header and this is your title, and inside that stories will be run. This is footer. So all these widget configurations can be done from here, and then you get a code, a small snippet here, right? And this code you can embed in your HTML page, and it will start showing up like this. So by default, it has a it creates a launcher button, and in the right bottom corner. But if you can disable that, and you can have your own trigger using, like for example here we have added this button, and then on click event of this button we are showing that widgets that you can do. So this is widget again. So widget. So if you notice here, so what this content is also retrieved using JQL, right? So there's JQL you configure here, and this widget content part, right? And what fields you want to show, you can select here. So that's how the widget's content will be rendered. So presently we have fixed template for widget. If we, I mean, in future we will have different templates support for widget part as well. So this is widgets, and then we have release page. Okay. So what is the release page? So once you configure here, you get a dedicated release page for your page. Okay, and you can post your release notes to this page. So for example, this for this release page configuration, we have this release page configured. So this is for our apps release notes. So whatever it was there in widgets, right? So we also have it in dedicated page. So this in this URL you can configure this. So by default it will be, for example, your Jira's instance is say your company name dot Atlassian dot net, right? So by default it will get that company name, but you can change it. Okay, and then for each project or each release page you configured, so you add a namespace here, which will be used to identify what is the release page you want to show it here. And then again you can release, so using rule and action you can add content to this release page. Okay, so right now the URL customization is this, and so you get a subdomain of dot release page, but in future we might support to have your own custom URL, so that this release page can also be used like your domain name. But right now, yeah, we just have a subdomains support in ARN. Yeah. Yes, I think that's it from release pages and widgets.